Queues at filling stations in Nigeria have refused to dissipate. Now, this situation is worsened by the recent admission of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited that it is facing challenges due to debt owed suppliers. NNPC Limited says this situation may likely result in an increase in the pump price of fuel as well as its distribution nationwide. Many filling stations across the country do not have the product to sell, while others with products available are selling at high prices. Nigerians have continued to lament hours wasted waiting on the queue to fill their car tanks.
The situation is bad. Like, I've been here since 12, and this is to 4 also, and it's really bad. On every other day, this is how we suffer.
I'm a site engineer moving from one side to the other. But without where I cannot do anything.
Yes, since 11 a.m. and this is almost to 4. I have not gotten fuel. And I ended up not going to work today. If you see that I'm dressed up to go to work. So I did not go to work today. I ended up my work today in the filling station. So it has really affected my work today. In as much as President Tinubu has rolled out programs to make the sufferings of Nigeria to reduce, some people who are in the position in NNPC are not doing their best.
The number of hours, productive hours you would have spent doing something else, you end up spending it on the queue trying to get fuel.
To continue to appeal to all our sundry and those who are in authority that they should have mercy, especially on women. And we are also appealing to filling station owners. They should expedite women. Women should be allowed to take first role in filling station to allow us to go home and perform the chores, because our children are hungry and they need to eat at home.
Doesn't look good. Oil and gas expert Olabode Sowunmi joins us now in the studios for more on this. Sowunmi, this is something that a lot of people really do not understand what exactly is going on. So what's the racket about? Listening to everyone and even NNPC admitting that it looks like it is overwhelmed.
I'm not sure the word is overwhelmed. I think it's probably the fact that the thing is actually operating in an opaque manner. It's opaque because the details are not obvious and the details are not available. To begin with, NNPC is the sole importer, and in the absence of any refinery, they will be the sole importer. However, NNPC came up with its figures, and there were a lot of whispers concerning it. Some went as far as, but one of the things that we have not done well as a people is to actually interrogate those figures. Not all of us are accounting experts, but ICANN is a body, technically a civil society body. They owe it to Nigerians. They don't even have to be invited. They owe it to Nigerians to do an interrogation of those figures and give their own interpretation, because this matter is a matter for everybody, and it is not something just a few can do. So why did somebody like ICANN, why did independent bodies who are professional in those areas, why did they not interrogate those figures and give us a view? And it is, if those figures had probably been interrogated, it probably would have shown at that point that there were figures that were not consistent with respect to how we were doing our importation. It's basically a business. I mean, it must be understood that the moment the naira fell to the dollar, definitely those prices did not add up. But it is also their own responsibility to make all of those things open.
So you're demanding, openness from NNPCL. That has been the demand forever. In terms of questioning NNPC, what would be the key things you'd be asking NNPC to be open, about? Sola, you were trying to tap me on something?
No, not
okay,
really.
great.
Yeah,
super. Just to be clear on that. Look, 14 days after, where reports came out that NNPC was owing these huge sums, of course, it debunked it earlier, but later, here we are. NNPC has admitted $6 billion. How on earth was NNPC allowed to even owe this much?
So my first job after university was in KPMG.
Right.
I was not in audit, I was in consulting, IT consulting. But I remember there was a day I was passing through lunch and the tax partner was advising a junior, an auditor, and was saying that we're in the accounting business, we are not in the cookery business. Books should not be cooked. And it was a joke, and I was much younger than I passed that. I think even the auditors need to be questioned. The auditors need to be questioned. It's getting to a time that if we really want progress, we need to ask hard questions. NNPC has its issues, but NNPC, irrespective of its issues, cannot be that ineffective without supporting organizations doing it. What is at play now, basically, is the fact that there are imperfections with respect to the accounting process, with respect to the importation process. It may and may not be the fault of NNPC. Let us not get it right. But what we are saying is that there isn't sufficient information available, and there isn't transparency in the release of information available for us to come to an appropriate and right conclusion in terms of what is happening. And in the absence of a proper conclusion, we can only hold one person responsible.
Doesn't it look like running away from the issues? Because listening to you now is so clear. First, you started off by letting us know that, well, there's this opaqueness, and this is not the first time we've heard that word used to describe the activities of the NNPC. The president is the man in charge, and he says he's fighting corruption, and he needs to be clearly, open about every sector of our national life. What should the president do now that this has come again to bite us and so hard to actually arrest the situation?
Okay, so this is one of those things that doesn't have a quick fix, because it's a corporate governance issue. So because when you talk about transparency, when you talk about process and all those things, it's about corporate governance. It's about the culture at work in that particular organization. And culture is about people. People don't change overnight. I mean, you can demand it, you can legislate it, but legislation, you can't legislate brotherhood. You can't legislate people to start to greet. There are certain things. So the PIA, which is basically the omnibus law, which is expected to cause all these changes, is having delays in terms of it being fully assimilated and being implemented. But at the core of all these things that is happening is lack of transparency, which is basic corporate governance. But there are also external stakeholders and external influences, whether it be media, whether it be civil society, whether it even be people like ICANN, like we mentioned, which are incumbent upon them to also intervene in the matter. It's not until when you are called. It's Nigeria, it's our Commonwealth, it is a responsibility. There's nothing that stops anybody who has the capacity, who has the knowledge for doing a human's job and doing a job for the people.
Okay, so let's move away from there. This might be political, considering it's coming from the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. In his response to all of this, says, look, NNPC should be listed on the stock exchange. Do you see that as a way out? And that we're hearing that eventually, when Dangote refinery, begins to roll out petrol, that NNPCL, the same NNPCL, will be the sole off-taker.
Okay, so which one am I taking
first? Both.
Okay, so when you talk about
listed on the stock exchange, number one, will that solve the NNPC problem?
Be it listed on the stock exchange or not, does not really affect the day-to-day operations. So because it's about ownership. You understand? So I used to work for a multinational, one Fortune 500 company, and they made all the staff back then to have some amount of shares, and you could determine from your salary. But what I did find out when I went to New York was that there were two types of shares for the company. There was the A shares, there was the B shares. The A shares was actually what controlled the company. The B shares, which all of us had, was, something for you to say you are part of it, but you are not really part of it. There can be all kinds of arrangements that are possible when you get onto the stock exchange. That's not the issue. It is not going to eliminate the fact that It is a national entity. It's not going to eliminate the fact that it's Ministry of Petroleum and Ministry of... So all those things is just gimmicks and dynamics. What people want and what people are more interested in is not even ownership change. It's productivity, effectiveness, and lack of stress for their lives.
Right.
And those things lie in operational excellence and good corporate governance. So if we change ownership and we put it on the stock exchange and we take it to the London Stock Exchange and you take it to the New York Stock Exchange and we don't handle the fundamentals that will cause operational excellence, it's not going to mean anything.
So NNPC is likely to be the only off-taker for Dangote, at least in the early days.
That's new. I'm not sure why they did that. There must be some special wisdom that we have not seen there. But the truth is that just like in the past too, it is always excellent that there is competition.
Right.
Well, I think the whole argument about ownership is something that we should have that conversation again. Why is it that LNNG is doing well and NNPC seems to be opaque? Well, thank you very much for your time as always.